Hi, it's Tim Joyce again, and we wanted to wrap up this series of videos regarding how to do an evaluation of where to put your workloads and which IT infrastructure. We've done 8 videos. They're all very short. If you haven't watched them, I would suggest you go back and look at them because we take you through the process of doing an evaluation. But what I realized as I was looking at the videos the other day was that we hadn't really wrapped it up and shown you the template of how to actually do the evaluation. We showed you all the factors. We talked about the importance, but we really didn't go through and show you how we do it. So let's do that today. So bear with me as I bring up my presentation. And let's do that. And there. All right. So this isn't going to take long, but I wanted to take you through it. So just to recap, it's about your workloads, not about the hardware or the location. And there are 5 possible platforms for your workloads. You can continue to use legacy 3-tier. You could look at hyperconverged. You could look at a vendor's private cloud, private cloud, right? You could look at public cloud, or you could do a hybrid cloud. And all the different vendors are talking about all these different things, confusing everybody. But at the end of the day, excuse me, it's about where your workloads run. But in order to determine the best place, you have to do your homework. And that's what we're all about. So, how do you evaluate the options? Well, number one, hardly anyone ever does one. So, it's no surprise if you haven't done one, you'd be like everybody else. And it's also important to understand some of the nomenclature around it. TCO is the one that's important. ROI, I wouldn't even bother with. There's 3 sets of factors: operational, organizational, and financial. And then, if you haven't done the analysis, how do you know you made the right decision? And what if you made the wrong decision? So let's go through this real quickly so that you don't make the wrong decision and you make the right decision. So just to recap, these are the operational factors, some of them that we work with. Okay, this is not a comprehensive list, but it's just mainly to instruct. These are the types of factors. Secondly, organizational factors. These matter as well, and they have to be taken into consideration. Finally, the financial factors. These are the ones you probably already think about. Let's go back. Let's stop confusing this. And yeah, you've probably got a handle at least on some of these already. But how do you combine them with the other two? So what we did was we put together a very simple template to do this evaluation. And what we realized was that you really can't evaluate the operational and organizational factors using dollars. I mean, that just doesn't work. So what you got to do is you have to value them based on the highest or best versus the lowest. And what you do is you simply take the factors down the left side, and let's start with the operational factors, and then the different options that you've got there. And these are the same options we just showed you in that slide. You go down to the second group of factors, the organizational factors, you do the same. And then what you do is you total all of these together. So you end up with numbers. And these are really a weighted average of how you view these alternatives based on these factors based on how they matter to you. What you're going to end up with is a score. Sorry about that. A score for each of these options. Now, you don't have to do a financial analysis on all of them because by going through this, you're going to see that some of these options don't work for you. So you only do a financial analysis on the ones that make the most sense for you. And I would recommend, say, the top 2 or at most top 3 alternatives. Then you do a financial analysis and you see some of the factors there. Here's other factors. And then using those factors, that's where you put the dollar numbers in. So you can, the financial factors are all dollar numbers. So you come up with a dollar number at the bottom on the options that you're evaluating. When you're done, you'll know which of the ones that fit your environment and which of those is the most cost effective. So that's how it works. But let's take you through using some test data. And what we did was we looked at three different alternatives. And this is much like one that we did for a customer, but this is not the exact one we did. So as you're looking at the different factors, we went down the list and we put which are the best, which are the lowest, and so on. And you can see, all of them are going to work, right? There's really nothing that's bad about any of them. It's just that some work better than others, and so you need to acknowledge that. And then we did the same for the organizational factors, and we came down to, at the bottom of these three factors, we had legacy was 86, HCI was 92, and AWS was 79. So when you look at that, you say, well, I don't want to do an financial analysis on everything, but I mean, we could have, but we said, all right, based on this, it looks like the options that fit our environment best are legacy 3-tier and HCI. So we did the financial analysis on that. And then we went through all the factors and so on, and you're going to have your own factors there. And this is what we came up with. The total on that option, the first option of legacy, was 1.33 million. The cost on the HCI option was just under 900. So it was roughly 50% less money for the second option than the first option. So what did you do there? So, at the end of the day, you did your homework. Number one, you looked at all the options, you looked at all the factors, and you were objective about them. Not subjective, you were objective about them. You were able to determine which ones fit best based on your environment. Then you were able to determine which one was the best financial alternative. And at the end of the day, you're going to pick whichever one you're going to pick, but at least now you're going to be able to defend the decision you made. You did your homework. You looked at all the factors, you looked at all the dollars, and this is what you came up with. Recognizing that things change over time, someone might come to you and say years later and say, why did you do that? Why did you make that decision? You can pull this out and show them this is why we made it. We went through the evaluation, we did the analysis, did the homework, and here's what we came up with. That's why we did this. And you'll be able to defend your decision. Most importantly, you'll have been able to put together the right alternative for your organization. So that's how it all works. We'd love to help you with it. We've done these many times. It's not a very difficult thing to do, but you got to have all the factors. We'll help you with that. And, we don't have a vested interest in what answer you come up with. I mean, just that you pick the right answer for your organization. So we're happy to help you. Final thought on it is that no one likes to overpay for products and services, and there's no reward in doing that except to the vendor. And I would argue that you don't get paid by the vendor, you get paid by your company. Second, if you don't do an analysis in advance, how will you know if you made the right decision? You won't. It'll just be a guess, and that's really not what you want to be betting your future on, I don't think. Like we talked about a moment ago, what would happen if you're challenged on your previous decisions? And then finally, it's not hard to do this the first time, but you got to do it. So here's our contact information. Reach out to me directly. I'm more than happy to help you. We exist so that we could provide the best alternatives for our customers. And I hope you've enjoyed this series. I wanted to get it out there so that everybody knew how we were looking at it and how maybe we've got a way to put objectivity into what has been either a subjective process or a process that no one does at all. So anyway, thanks for watching, and keep looking at our web or our YouTube channel. We'll be putting up a lot more content that I think will be of value. But we do look forward to the opportunity to work with you, and thanks for watching.